Hi, today I'd like to show you one of my favorite stock patterns. It's called the ascending bullish wedge. The characteristics are simple. The highs stop at approximately, not exactly, because stock moves in a series of zigzags, we all know that, but approximately at the same level, which is around $1.88. Keeps hitting there and bouncing back down. Now the lows do the opposite. They keep getting higher and higher and higher, forming a wedge pattern. Now, at the end of the day, what happens at the end of, close to the end of this point, which will be in about another 6-8 days, this pattern will now switch from a consolidating bottom pattern to a sharp uptrend. Now, there's one of two ways to get into this. As it gets close to the point, you can do a pre-buy and maximize your profit on the way out, or you can set your buy order above this pattern here and buy as it breaks out. But one of the most important things to realize is that most of these ascending bullish wedges happen after a big downtrend. So they're essentially a bottom formation. And with any bottom formation, you've got those blood-sucking short sellers in there. I'm going to show you what's known as a short squeeze. Okay, now let's go back into it. Let's go look at 5 months or so. Way back here, we'll see the price peaked at around 275. Now that uptrend is so sharp, and that angle of ascent is so sharp, that it doesn't take a nuclear scientist to realize it's probably going to come down. And that would trigger a lot of short selling, driving the price down, and then it bottoms here again, and it goes up, and you see it zigzag, but it keeps getting lower and lower, and this is basically a downtrend. So the short sellers are hanging in, making more and more money. But once it gets down into this level, it's like short sellers are thinking, well, is it going to bottom? Or is it going to fall off? As soon as they start to see this ascending bullish pattern, many of them get out and close their position. But a lot of them are greedy, and they think, I'm going to hold on and hold on and hold on and hope it falls off the end of the earth and I make even more money. But that often doesn't happen. As they get real close to the end here, they start to realize, whoops, this is getting too close for comfort. It could break out. I'm going to close my position. Now, when you're a short seller and you're closing your position, that means you're buying the stock. So a whole bunch of short sellers that are closing their position, they place demand on the stock. It's a short-term demand because don't forget, they borrowed the stock. They need to go out and buy it and give it back to their broker. So it creates an artificial demand, which drives the price up earlier than, often earlier before the end of the peak is, the point of the wedge is realized. They're driving the price up. And what happened? A lot of people that have orders in here, the orders get executed. Or it creates this euphoria like, oh, it's breaking out. Everybody jumps on the bandwagon to buy. And as soon as they buy, a ton of other traders sell, creating pressure and driving it right back here. So that's what they call a false start, and it often happens at the end of a symmetrical wedge. So here's what typically happens. You put a buy order in here. The short sellers drive the price up, okay? A whole bunch of people jump in. They ride it up and they get out right away and they drive the price right back down again, and your stop loss order gets executed. So what happens is, the good news is you made some money on paper, but then it comes down and your stop loss gets executed. You've lost money. Now it turns around and it changes into an uptrend, and you're not in the trade thinking, what the hell? How did this happen? So, important thing to realize with ascending bullish wedges. Often, short sellers create this artificial demand before the point is realized, and no reason to panic. So the moral of the story is, if you're using this pattern, make sure your stop losses are not too tight, okay? Because if they are, you're going to be taken out of the trade and you're going to kick yourself in the butt. All right, now let's look at volume. Here you see volume going up, 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 And that, in all probability, is a combination of two things. People realizing this is a ascending bullish wedge and they want to get in early, but it's also short sellers closing their position because they're saying, if this thing bounces out, I'm going to lose a lot of the money I made on the way down. I'm Dave Gordon at StockTradingSupport.com. Pay attention, trade wisely.